Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warcraft. This is, hopefully, well, maybe not hopefully, not exactly. Anyways, this is a video where I'm gonna be showing off to you guys a very special thing that you can encounter in Legion if you're playing a Frost Death Knight. Now, just as a reminder, for those of you who perhaps don't know, if you are playing a Frost Death Knight, the artifact weapon you get are these bad boys. The Blades of the Fallen Prince. These are what is left of Frostmourne. For those of you who have not seen the quest, we actually return to Icecrown Citadel, and the Lich King asks us to find the remaining shards and pieces of Frostmourne and Icecrown after the events of Wrath. When we find what's left, including the hilt of Frostmourne, we use, the powers of the Death Knight and the Lich King to reforge them into two one-handed swords. This is partly due to the change they made to Frost Death Knight having to be dual-handed or dual-wielding spec, compared to when it used to be a spec that wielded a two-handed weapon. So, yeah, we get to inherit what is left of Frostmourne. This is a big deal when you think about it. And because of this, because we are now carrying around what is left of Frostmourne, there's something special that you can come across and find as a Frost Death Knight in Legion in the Broken Isles.
What's this? No,
You see this right here?
seeks my judgment.
That is an image of the second Lich King.
You will disgrace the house.
And it's called A Memory of Arthas. I find this interesting. Very interesting. Now, of course, it being called the Memory of Arthas instead of the memory of the second Lich King, or, because it's not really Arthas that's talking to us when, you would think about it. But then again, we don't really know what exactly this is that's going to be talking to us here. And there's going to be 4 different ones that we find here that each give different kinds of quotes. I find it very interesting. And some of the quotes that you get from these are really cool. The one in Azuna is amazing. But we're going to start off here in Stormheim, and then we're going to kind of make our way around the continent.
So many fallen kings, silent in their numberless graves. Even the mighty are rendered nameless by time. Every king must kneel before death.
I love how he, implants the sword into the ground before he fades away there. So, yeah. I mean, look, I love getting to hear Michael McConaughey's Lich King voice. It's one of my favorite voices ever. And each of these different quotes are very interesting and insightful when you think about it. Even the mighty are rendered nameless by time. Every king must kneel before death. Alright, so that first one was located at the Field of the Fallen Kings, right over here. The next one is going to be actually here at Thunder Totem, inside Thunder Totem specifically. And it's actually, if you're questing in High Mountain as a Frost Death Knight, you'll easily spot it, because it's actually right there in the area where Ebonhorn shows you the vision. I'll show you in just a moment. The other 2 are a little trickier to find, but fortunately you can find the locations of them online. I have a pretty good memory of where they are. I actually went ahead and had this character go around and check all 4 locations just to make sure that they were available, because once you activate them, they're gone. You can't get them back. You can't do that multiple times. So, alright. So we're coming up on Thunder Totem here. Alright, so now we're gonna go inside the elevator. Oh. Okay. Never mind. I caught myself. I caught myself on this before falling to my death. Because, yeah, this will kill you. But then again, how often have we had a death as a result of an elevator? Right? Fortunately, I do have an Azurite power for self-reliance to heal every 3 seconds, so even if I took some damage, not a big deal. The baseline appearance I'm not too crazy about. I actually like the upgraded appearances more. But I've always loved the frost look and aesthetic of the Frost Death Knight. So I've also loved the blue look for the Death Lord Vanquisher. So here's the other one right here. Yeah.
You believe that you are in control, that your will is your own, yet you do as he commands. You exist by his whim alone. You imagine yourself to be free, but you will always be his instrument.
I mean, a lot of that is true. And I find it interesting that he is talking about he, referring to the third Lich King. As some of us theory crafters have said, and some people just don't really get or understand, or just straight up deny. But then again, with the amount of retconning going on these days, especially giving what apparently is going to be retconned in Shadowlands, it's hard to blame them. But for a long time, many of us theorized that the what we refer to as the essence of the Lich King was a whole separate entity within the Helm. Because based on things we learn, including in the books, like the Arthas Rise of the Lich King book, it wasn't just Ner'zhul. It was Ner'zhul along with something else that was created and crafted by Kil'jaeden and the Dreadlords when they made the Lich King. Like, Ner'zhul was basically like the catalyst in order for them to make that. But at the end of the Arthas book, when Death Knight Arthas puts on the helm, the spirit of Ner'zhul and the spirit of Death Knight Arthas meet, like, in their minds in the helm. And Ner'zhul's like, oh, great, we're finally going to be able to be united, and we're going to rule and dominate, and no one can stop us. And Death Knight Arthas stabs him with Frostmourne and tells him, I don't need you anymore.
Our Keeper and Dryad allies have
Shut
been
up.
twisted by the...
It's like, I don't need to share this power with you. It's mine. I am the Lich King now, and I am ready.
Dreadroot was once a beautiful wood, but now
Okay,
is
it's
overrun
somewhere
by monstrosities
in
of the
this area. I
nightmare.
just have to remember where
This
exactly.
cannot stand.
And I hope I can easily spot it. Gotta be... there it is. Alright. So... basically what I'm getting at is that every time we've had a new Lich King, like Ner'zhul and the Essence was the first Lich King, and then because of the events of the book where Death Knight Arthas kills what remained of Ner'zhul, and it said his spirit and what was Ner'zhul vanished, and basically the essence of the Lich King merged with Death Knight Arthas, but retained the power that it had from Ner'zhul, because there are times in Wrath where the second Lich King refers to how he used to be a shaman, and the idea was that he had a combination of Ner'zhul's shamanistic powers, but also Arthas's paladin powers, and then of course the powers of the Lich King. The idea was that every time a new host took on the mantle of the Lich King, it continued to grow and evolve in power and knowledge. That's why, even in Legion, the third Lich King will say things like, Arthas, he just wanted revenge, but I have other plans. And the fact that these, whatever these actually are, these memories of Arthas, are talking to us. Like, think about that quote he just gave us. He said, "You believe that you are in control, that your will is your own, but yet you do as he commands." He doesn't say, "Do as I command," because he's not the Lich King anymore. This isn't the essence of the Lich King talking to us. This is what remains in Frostmourne and the second Lich King and Death Knight Arthas. That's why he's talking about, when he says he's referring to the third Lich King, the one that Bolvar became the host of. Because I will continue to argue that while he wore that helm in the Shadowlands cinematic, that was the third Lich King. That wasn't Bolvar, that was the third Lich King. The moment that helm was removed, that was back to being Bolvar. The power was contained within that helm. That was one of the points. That was why when in the cinematic in Warcraft 3, when Arthas puts on the helm, that's when he changes into the Lich King, because the power was contained within that helm. Nerzul's spirit was contained within that helm, and what entity that we refer to as the essence of the Lich King was contained in there as well, that has the power of the Lich King. So, you know, that's why the breaking of the helm was the big deal, and basically Sylvanas killing him. But anyways, we're not here to talk about that. Let's listen to another memory of, a quote-unquote memory of Arthas, shall we?
The darkness does not die. Rage against the nightmare. Struggle as you will. The infinite dark is patient. We will all be claimed in the end.
It's almost like the second Lich King, or what was remaining of Death Knight Arthas and the second Lich King, was warning us about what was coming. Not necessarily in BFA, but what was coming in Shadowlands. Because when he's referring to the Infinite Dark, it's hard not to think that he's referring to what's awaiting for us in Shadowlands. Because I doubt he would be referring to N'Zoth as the Infinite Dark. That's hilarious. So apparently I was so close to 114. I was so close to level 114. Yes, I haven't gotten to 120 on this character yet. But apparently, because I was discovering all these places and getting XP, it got me to the point where I got to level 114. And now I've triggered the... Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. So there's one more. And this next one is probably my absolute favorite quote that he gives of the four. Because it's very true. Really listen to what he says here. I believe it's somewhere... Is it over here? Oh, yeah, it is over here. Yeah. Right here.
See the spirits writhe and twist, the numberless shades forsaken by time. The dead outnumber the living, and always will.
I love that quote. And it is so true. The dead outnumber the living, and always will. There is so much truth in that statement, and it's part of the and it adds to the idea and the concept of the Scourge just being this overwhelming dominant force, because he can just continuously raise all the dead if he wanted to into the undead to add to the Scourge. This is kind of the idea of why the second Lich King in Wrath was such a fearsome force, because if he wanted to, he could do that. Because they far outnumber us. When you have a force like the Lich King who can just continuously, infinitely raising the dead into his army of undead, there's just no beating that. It only took the specific circumstances that we had in Wrath to be able to win that. Gosh, I hope they I'm not talking about Shadowlands. I'm not going to talk about Shadowlands. That's not the point of this. So that's a cool little extra bit there. If you love hearing the Lich King's voice, those little bit of extra quotes there. If you ever want to play as a Death Knight, which I highly recommend doing, it's one of those classes that I highly recommend playing as in Legion, because the class hall stuff is amazing for the Death Knight in Legion, for the campaign, especially with all the stuff involving the third Lich King. So, I will see you guys next time.